Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Construct Innovate webinar series on innovation and entrepreneurship. My name is Jamie Goggins, and I'm co-director of Construct Innovate, which is Ireland's National Research Centre for Construction, Technology and Innovation. The focus of this week in the webinar is research to market. This is the fourth week of the five-week series around innovation and entrepreneurship. If you've missed any of the previous weeks and would like to watch those back, then please do go on to the Construct Innovate YouTube channel and you will be able to watch the previous weeks. This week has also been recorded and will be made available on the Construct Innovate YouTube channel afterwards. And then we have one more week to go, breaking the silos, which will come up on the 12th of May. If you want to register for that, please go on to the Construct Innovate webpage and go into the webinars, and you will find a registration there for that. So similar format to other weeks, we will have three presenters followed by the Q&A at the very end. The presentations will be made available, as I said, on the YouTube channel afterwards, and the Q&A will not be recorded. Delighted to have three eminent speakers in this area today. So we have Sean Mulligan, who's Water Innovation Leader at Vortex Water Solutions, and he's going to take us through the Vortex story, effectively from research to global scale-up. So from an idea from the lab that was taken out and developed into a commercial entity and then scaled up globally. So really looking forward to that story. Then we have Ignacio Torrens Galdiz, who's Innovation and Business Development at Multiverse Computing, and he's going to talk about where research meets concrete. So Ignacio has lots of experience about taking research ideas and developing them into businesses. And then Anmol Jaguste, who's the Research Program Manager at Construct Innovate, and he's going to talk about promoting innovation in the construction sector and the great work that he's doing within Construct Innovate as the Research Program Manager there. Our next presenter is Ignacio Torrens, who's in Innovation and Business Development at Multiverse Computing, and he's going to talk us through where research meets concrete. So Ignacio and his company have plenty of experience of taking research and bringing it to market in there from across Europe and further afield. So over to you, Ignacio.
Thanks very much. Let me share my screen. There we go. Can you see my screen now?
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So good morning, everyone. I'm Ignacio Torrens, Innovation and Business Development Executive at Multiverse Computing, which is a deep tech company based in the Basque Country in the north of Spain. I've been asked to speak in this research to market series, and the honest answer to how I got from research to market is very slow and moving like one step at a time. And this is a presentation that mixes a little of my own professional experience with how Multiverse Computing is trying to access the construction sector. That line that you see on the screen is a road that runs from research on the left to market on the right. And each stop is a role I've held, fortunately, from academia to RTOs, consulting, and now deep tech. And with each move to the right, I gain a bit or one more layer of market reality. But the interesting thing about deep tech, where I am now, is that it doesn't let you choose a side. Research is our competitive advantage, and market success it's a survival condition. But both ends simultaneously. That tension between the two is what this talk or presentation is going to be about. So let me first show you something that I've been drawing in my head for many years. Three circles, three completely different definitions of what it means to win at work, but let me give you the outset view of these roles. Any resemblance to reality is purely coincidental. In the first circle, we have the researcher. Success is peer-reviewed novelty, and they always ask, has anyone done this before? If the Google Scholar search returns only 3 papers, then that feels like a journal paper on its way. Second circle is the consultant or project manager, where success is deliverables, grant compliance, acquisition of funds, And every proposal promises 500 jobs, tier late, in 18 months, 5 million euros in 3 years. Copy, paste, and never visited some of the times. And the third circle, more to do with business development or even like executive levels. They talk about revenue pipeline, Q3, and will this be profitable, scalable, etc. And now, interesting to look at the overlaps as well. When research meets consultants, you get this immortal project that survives its on ground extensions, novel and compliant, and never leaves the lab. When research meets business development, there is a clear language barrier that I think we, or at least in this panel, we've suffered quite a lot. One person explains stochastic simulations, and the other asks for the price per square meter. That's a very common thing. And when consultant meets business development, it's a PowerPoint mirage. So words saving in slides to people in a basement in real life. At the center, what we all try to get this innovation unicorn, which is novelty, new, like funded, and actually works on a construction site and hopefully quick. I've lived in every one of these circles, and my career has been spent in the overlaps, to be honest, trying to translate between the three circles. So if those are the three, let's call them tribes, how do companies, in my experience, actually try to bridge the gap between them? And I see four models. One is a bit different, that is the one on the left. The first is university RTO, and you could even include a facilitator, cluster, etc., which probably is the role of Construct Innovate as well, and what represents. And this is sponsored research, shared labs, secondments, low financial commitment, long time horizon. The second is IP acquisition or licensing, which is buying the patent, buy the royalty, you get the right to use, but not the knowledge behind it. Third is open innovation that I'm seeing more and more, especially the sector that I am in AI and deep techs, which is about co-development, sprints, expertise on demand, which is fast and flexible, but the IP ownership and negotiations about the co-ownership are really complicated. And the fourth, classic internal R&D or even acquisition, hire the team, build in-house, or buy the company. You own the whole stack, and it's a high commitment and cost. Each of these models is an attempt to cross the gap between research and market, and none of them are easy. Every single one comes down to the same thing, risk versus benefit. But before we get to what we do in multiverse computing and how we are trying to implement AI across sectors, I wanted to do a pause to reflect in how crazy times we're living now for research and market, but especially for research, I would say. And I'm of course talking about AI and its impact on absolutely everything. On the positive side, AI is the best copy editor your team has ever had, research papers, specs, definition, documentation. It also compresses R&D cycles from years to weeks, and that I'm experiencing right now quite a lot, especially for digital projects. It helps you get outside of your comfort zone. You can explore, you can have a virtual body that helps you out with market fit, target buyers, impact quantification, etc. And it automates repetitive work so you can focus on what only researchers, humans should do, which is asking the right questions. But and this matters. AI brings its own challenges. Sustainable computing is one of them. Inference costs and energy use at scale are becoming a serious barrier. Data privacy, which sensitive research cannot go to the cloud. And of course, we are seeing edge deployment as well as a challenge, and it needs to run sometimes where the work happens, on site, disconnected, and in real time. Those three challenges, those are precisely what multiverse computing was built to solve. Not originally for construction, of course, but for AI itself, which is how we ended up here. And just to tell you a bit of the story of our company, in 2018, a group of quantum physicists, friends, researchers started a WhatsApp group. The question was, what if we applied this to real problems? In 1 year later, they published a paper, a journal paper on quantum computing applied to finance. Then the markets reads it, the phone starts ringing, they get calls from some Canadian accelerator, and companies are asking, can you do this for us? So they say yes, 4 people, Basque Country, first investment round, first clients in finance, energy, manufacturing. The research paper was the product, and that's the research to market story playing out in real time from academic curiosity to a commercial product or services in under 12 months. And then something unexpected happens. In 2022, they were working on a project with Bosch about predictive maintenance, and the question comes up: can you optimize this AI model? And someone of the team had an insight. The same tensor network mathematics behind quantum optimization that was implemented in the project. Could it compress also neural networks, which is the architecture of AI, generative AI, LLMs, etc. And on the left, you can see the current state, hundreds of billions of parameters, massive GPU infrastructure, energy consumption off the charts, can run on edge devices, generally slow inference. And on the right, what our technology delivers, 10 times smaller, up to 80% cost savings, up to twice as fast, deployable anywhere without losing accuracy. So this became Compactive AI, which is our flagship product. And it was born exactly at the moment that the global AI market exploded around 2022, 2023. So the market responded and the company grew. And today we're approximately, well, we're more than 500 people now. It's a 6 years old company. So it's quite a growth. With 20% of the team holding PhDs, we closed the $250 million Series B in June last year. And our investors include HP, Bullhound Capital, and a number of strategic European and North American funds. We've been also ranked in the top 100 fastest growing startups in Europe, top 100 AI startup globally, according to CV Insights. So again, from 4 people in 2019, researchers, to this. So their research in this case is the business. But a bit more on what we do and how companies can benefit from it. There are basically 2 ways at the moment to work with us. The first is instant API access. So available directly on AWS in a few clicks, no setup required, pay as you go. We offer 4 to 6 times cheaper inference than leading competitors at the best speed to price ratio on the market. And again, this is a crazy race. So numbers in presentations and everywhere need to be updated almost weekly. The second is custom enterprise deployment, which integrates our compressed models into the company's infrastructure, on cloud for flexibility and compliance, on premise for full control, or at the edge, deployed on any device or system, including drones, phones, vehicles, industrial equipment, cameras, operating with zero connectivity. So the numbers: 80% model compression, 50 to 80% cost reduction, twice the inference speed, approximately zero accuracy loss. So why does this matter for construction specifically? Construction sites are obviously not data centers, and we're focusing on aspects like no connectivity, harsh environments, and data that cannot leave the site. Workers who need real-time responses, not cloud latency. So those are exactly the edge deployments and data privacy challenges from previously, and Compactive AI was built to solve them. The question changes. It's no longer AI is interesting for construction. It's AI is ready for construction. I'm going to show you a few success stories or use cases that we are actually now adapting to the construction sector. First, a European automotive electronics supplier need to deploy a pedestrian detection AI model on embedded hardware with strict latency, power, and compute constraints. The best-in-class models at the time were too slow and too energy intensive for real-time edge deployment. So we compressed a version of the YOLO-based vision model using compactive AI, and the result was 50% fewer parameters, 26% lower latency, 36% fewer operations with only 6% accuracy loss. Same safety performance, half the model runs on the edge. We're actually using this now for safety in construction sites. We're trying to embed it in cameras that they are able to detect that workers have safety equipment, also to allow trucks to pass without any barrier and checking plates, etc. So there is a huge, let's say, spectrum of applications that the construction sector could have out of vision models. The second example is an IBEX 35 energy company that we're collaborating with over 100 million customers globally. Their field technicians needed to consult vast technical documentation, so manuals, schematics, reports, in real time, on site, in very noisy industrial environments. We built a multimodal rack system, which is a field assistant that understands voice, image, and text queries, runs locally, and retrieves accurate information from official documentation, no hallucinations, no cloud dependency, and no waiting. The project is ongoing, and it's exactly the same architecture that works for wearables on a construction site with similar applications, I'd say. Which brings me to what we're building right now, specifically in construction, and the attempt that we're doing to find, let's say, the market fit and find interesting applications that are mature enough for us to help out companies that are experts on the sector. These are 5 R&D projects that are running this year. So it's real industry partners, real budgets, real timelines, and they are subsidized by the Spanish government. Really quickly, Triada is an AI vision that auto-generates BIM models of aging residential buildings and picks the optimal decarbonization scenario. Another one for automatic defect detection and also connected with building information models or digital twins for validation. Thirto, it's a quite interesting project that we're about to close, which is similar to the example that I mentioned earlier. So a worker speaks on site, a wearable captures audio and video, and Edge AI generates the certification automatically. Hours of paperwork eliminated on the site. So about logistics, also optimization of movements, etc. Digflow, it's also quite interesting project, and we're working on drones and ground robots on civil engineering sites with LLMs as the let's say the orchestrator interface for real-time replanning. And finally, Safe Rail, you probably heard the issues that we're having in Spain with the rail network. We're working there on empowering, let's say, drones. In this case, there are drones that go on the rail network to quickly and fast check, audit, and do the maintenance of the rail network. So at least the, let's say, kilometers and kilometers could be analyzed quickly for at least discarding easy faults and spotting exactly the kilometers or the spots where like a more detailed analysis should be placed. Finally, 4 things that I've learned walking the whole road or the road. One, the real problem is never in the brief. We need to dig deeper before proposing anything. The brief is what they think they need. Second, it's very important, especially for now, understanding who writes the check and it could be the architect, contractor, owner, but also sometimes you need to help out the internal team of the company to sell the project internally. The third, the pilot is not a strategy. Uh, name it pilot or proof of concept or MVP. No path to scale equals a beautiful dead end. And four, research is most powerful when it knows where it's going. In our case, tensor networks started as a quantum physics paper, and they now run on wearable devices on construction sites in Bilbao. So finally, innovation isn't the technology you build; it is the friction you remove. Thanks very much for inviting me to this session. And if you have any questions, happy to answer.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ignacio. Fantastic presentation. Really impressive as a company to go from a WhatsApp group with a few quantum physicists in 2018 to a journal paper in 2019, and then found the company in 2019, and then within 6 or 7 years to have 500, go from 4 people setting up a company to have 500 people in there, and with 20% of them having PhDs. That's unbelievable growth in their very interesting projects in terms of the range of projects involved around the construction and civil engineering and that. So I'm sure we'll pick up on some of those in the Q&A, and also I suppose that whole thing around the researcher, the consultants, and the biz development executive, and when to get them involved, and that interface and how the benefit coming together, but also the friction and so on. So there's lots to pick on there, as well as some of the other things you picked up on. So loads to pick up in the Q&A afterwards, but we'll pick that up after our third presenter. So our third presenter being Anmol Jaguste, who's the research program manager at Construct Innovate, and he's going to talk about promoting innovation in the construction sector. So over to you, Anmol.
Thanks, Jamie. Is my screen visible? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Anmol. I'm the research program manager at Construct Innovate. I'm an engineer by training, but in the last few years, I've been involved in a lot of early stage innovation and commercialization projects across different sectors, including medtech, advanced manufacturing, and construction in Ireland, US, Australia, and India. A picture paints 1,000 words, so I thought I'll begin the talk with a few pictures. So this was a Ford factory in Cork in 1919. And this is the Ford factory in 2021. So in my time in Ireland, since 2021, I thought maybe what if we look at construction today, which is a picture from 2024, on a housing construction site in Meath, and what that looks like in 1927. So that's a construction site in Cork in 1927. So with that, I wanted to ask the audience if you can use the kind of chat function to say one word on what innovation in the construction sector looks like. You can type it in the chat there to see. So innovation in the construction sector is. All right. Okay, I see some responses coming in. So I wanted to ask 3 questions in the audience. So have you ever observed a problem in a day-to-day life or work? Have you thought of a solution to it? And have you implemented the solutions? One of the 3 things, which is observing a problem, starting with a need, starting with a problem, thinking of a solution, and having implemented the solution. And if yes, you're already an innovator. So in the construction sector, I wanted to understand and focus on 3 things today to help you scale the innovation skill. One is provide a kind of structured, practical method of observing and filtering problem statements, explaining the kind of supports that are available to solve these problems, and then encouraging people to keep practicing this methodology every day, as 1,000 failed ideas often lead to one successful one. So those are 3 things I wanted to focus on the talk today. So beginning with the practical structured way of problem solving. So every successful innovation starts with an observation or a problem, as kind of reference to or in the previous talks, where there was a real observation or a need or a problem that was identified. And what I'd encourage everyone in the webinar to do is to really challenge the standard ways of working. So understanding if there's an annoyance or a problem or an observation that you see at work, question it and ask the question as to why is it done the way it is. And then once you start making these observations, we can start drafting what we call problem statements. So a problem statement in structure is a need for a problem or an observation for a target population to achieve a certain impact. So as we keep seeing these problems and observing and being more cognizant in our day-to-day work, we can start populating these problem statements. An example of that would be a need for identifying, documenting, and tracking the snags for site supervisors and homeowners to expedite handover by 20%. One thing to be cautious of during this process is to not embed a solution in the problem statement, which is, for example, a mobile application that does this, because there may be other ways of solving this problem as well that may be skipped if you focus on a solution in the problem statement. So as we come up with the observations, we start drafting these problem statements. We need to really ask the question, is it a problem worth solving? Is it a big enough problem? Or is it just a once-off thing that happened? So we can take all these problem statements and put them through different filters, like market size, regulatory burden, ease of adoption, willingness to pay for solutions, what current solutions exist, what other filters X, Y, and Z that may be relevant for these problem statements. And you can take all these problem statements and filter them down to 2 or 3 key problem areas to work on that have been validated with market, with regulatory, with adoption, and that will have a true impact if solved. And then you can go into the ideas generation. So you can look at new concepts, new technologies, repurposing existing solutions in a different application, or making improvement or feature improvements to existing solutions. So for example, in our problem statement of snagging, it could be a mobile app, which would be a new kind of technology or new concept in the space, or it could be improving the quality check process upfront so that the snagging issue can be completely removed, which would be, let's say, quality control from a different sector applied to construction. And then this is the key bit, which some of the previous speakers mentioned too as well, is the constant validation and the stakeholder engagement to confirm that what we are solving is valid. So that's the constant problem and solution validation between the current state of the art and then the interview stakeholders to do what's called a so what test. So if there's a problem that you've identified based on the observation that you've made, and you have a problem statement that has passed the filtering process and you've come up with a good solution, so what happens? Is it a problem? Is someone impacted by this? Is there a business case for this problem? Is a technical solution feasible, or is it something completely abstract? So while the process seems quite linear, where it's an observation to a problem, to a solution, to validation, it's often a continuous loop that keeps going back and forth and keeps changing. And then once you have a problem and a solution that is validated, you can take 2 routes. So you can either spin out and become an entrepreneur, set up your own company and raise funding and go that route. Or if you're someone who's not willing to take that risk or has the resources and support from an organization perspective, you could be an entrepreneur where you're kind of leading change and innovation from inside the company. And some of these were referenced kind of before as well, but there are a lot of funding opportunities in different areas to support both those streams through Enterprise Ireland, Research Ireland, SEAI, Horizon Europe, other governmental funding and other R&D funding that can be used to support both pathways of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship. So why should one care about innovation? And why does one need to drive innovation in the sector? Because there's a lot of these targets that keep coming up in sustainability, productivity, volume, digitalization. And innovation is the only way, I believe, that we can address and tackle these upcoming targets. So if there is one thing that you can take from my talk today, is the toolkit that I mentioned, which is the observations, so being more observant, writing down the problem statements, filtering them, coming up with solutions, and then exploring kind of support systems and funding opportunities for them. And then, as I said before as well, it is about practicing it. It seems like a lot of work when you take an observation to the solution, and it is a lot of work. But as a mindset, if we can keep practicing this day in, day out, being more observant, writing down problem statements, filtering them quickly, it becomes quite easy to filter out things quite quickly. And that actually leads the top problems and top solutions to boil up. And that's the mindset that I feel, once incorporated, can really drive innovation in the sector. And with that, we are always here to help. So as Construct Innovate, as a national research and innovation center in Ireland, we can help support companies, entrepreneurs, both in the entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship track, to find grants, do the testing, do the networking, make connections, advise, and find the expertise to help you on that journey. So with that, I have a QR code there, and that will send an automated email to myself. So with that, I'll hand it back to Jamie for any questions then. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. And so Anmol, and I suppose starting off with being observant in there also picks up on maybe with Sean's points earlier on, is sort of you're in ecosystems. We all work within organizations or so on. We interact with different people, and being observant, both in terms of those potential problem statements that are there, but also that network or what's around us in there that could help us with those afterwards. Yeah, and then practicing that, observant, write the problem statements, filter those down, and then what can we develop solutions afterwards in there. So get it into that mindset in there, rather than seeing problems as being barriers, problems as being opportunities in there as well. Very good. So we're going to move on to our Q&A session now at the end. So if anyone has any questions, then please put them into the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen.